Hey everybody, Tommy here with Outrider USA. Hope you're doing well today. Just wanted to take some time today to give you a walk through the Horizon with our Handcycle adaptation. I think sometimes folks are probably looking at our videos and they're like, man, how many different setups do they have? Well, we've got a setup to make it possible for almost anyone to ride, and we're working hard to make it so that regardless of whether you're fully able-bodied or your legs don't work or your arms don't work or some mix of the two, that there's always a way for you to ride. So the Handcycle adaptation is built for folks that have minimal leg function or someone that just wants to get an awesome workout on their upper body. So the Horizon, again, is our off-road machine. So our Horizon three-wheeled platform, of course, is for off-road. Our Coyote is our four-wheeled platform that's for off-road. So today, again, we're looking at the three-wheeler. So it is the Horizon. The Horizon also has full suspension, as we've gone over before, but you've got air suspension in the front. It's an A-arm style air-arm suspension, and it basically is an automotive grade suspension that's going to give you a super smooth ride on road and off road. And it also has a sway bar, so that allows you that when you're cornering, it minimizes any body roll that you're going to experience in cornering. So it's super flat around the corners on the road, and it's also very stable off-road for riding. And then in the rear, you've got air suspension in the rear also, 5 inches of travel in the rear, and you've got 3.5 inches of travel up front. And that's the same across the board for our Horizons, our Nomads, our Alphas. They all have front and rear air suspension. Our Transitions are rigid models or unsuspended Outriders. So we're going to talk next about all the details and quirks and features that are baked in to the Handcycle adaptation. There's tons of detail here, so I look forward to talking with you about that. All right, so we've talked about some of the overview items on the Outrider. Now we're going to talk about how you turn the machine on. So down here on the left side of the machine is our key switch. This part right here where all the electronics come in and out of the Outrider is called the doghouse. The doghouse has 2 different key switch locations depending on the machine. This machine has a key switch loaded on the top, and you can see it's a removable key switch for security reasons, so nobody's going to go anywhere with the electric drive unless you have the key in. So quarter turn turns it on, quarter turn turns it off. Once it's on, up here on the display you'll see this pulsing red light, and that just lets you know that the machine is on, it is ready, but it is not armed. Anytime you're seeing that pulsing red means it's asleep or it's disarmed, and so to arm it, we're going to show you how to do that next once you get in the machine. So of course, lift this up like that to load. Fold it back down like this. Adjust your display where you want it. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're ready to ride, after you've checked your brakes, make sure your brakes work correctly, make sure the steering feels good, is you can arm the electric drive. So this red button right here is going to arm and disarm the motor. So right now, if I push the throttle, the machine's not going to go anywhere. That's a safety feature so that as you're getting on and off, you can have your lights on. Say you're on the side of the road somewhere in the evening and you want to make sure you're seen. Your lights are all on as long as the machine is on and disarmed, but your throttle's not live until you hit this red arm switch. So once you hit that red arm switch, it's live. You're in blue, which is low range or first gear for the electric, and if you twist that throttle or you push your thumb into this throttle, that applies the electric. And so one of the great things about the shifting system on this bike is, of course, you've got your 2 speeds for your electric drive, a low range and a high range. And then you've also got an 11-speed internally geared hub in the back. So the main advantage of that hub is that if you come to a stop and you're in a big gear like 11th gear, with this electronic shifter, you can shift into first gear even when you're stopped. So you'll see up here on the display, your Shimano display for the Di2 system what gear you're in, and you can shift through all 11 gears with just a push of the button. So this makes it really great because you can press and hold the up or down button, and then it'll rapid fire through the gears without you having to press the button over and over again. So it's a really cool system. And when you're riding along and you're just clicking through the gears, it makes it so easy to get the exact gear you want just when you want it. As far as the brakes are concerned, this one has cable actuated brakes through and through. We have other setups that have cable actuated hydraulic disc brakes, and each side is independent. So the left brake controls your left front wheel, your right brake controls your right front wheel. So you can see the brake being pulled down there on the bottom right. So whenever you want to stop, you're just pulling both front brakes. Plenty of stopping power. It's a 180 millimeter disc on both sides up front. So plenty of stopping power there. So that covers your brakes. We've talked about the shifting. We've talked about arming it. Showed you the throttle. And the next thing is this blue button. This blue button is your low and high range shifter. So if you press that button, it's going to begin to blink the green LED, which means it's ready to go into high range as soon as you're rolling. If you press the blue button again, it cancels that shift. So low range is perfect when you're riding up steep terrain, when you're just getting rolling. You're essentially going to use it like you would the first gear in a car. And the high range is going to be sort of like your second gear for the electric. So that covers all the buttons and switches on the controls on this. One of the things that I talked about a little earlier that makes this really special is the steering. So you can see up here these cables that come down, and these are super heavy duty sealed cables, steel core cables that there's a pull cable on both sides, and that controls this front steering cam down here with rollers that run down to it. So the beauty of that system is while you're here pedaling away with your pedal power, you can also be steering as you're pedaling. And it's hard to really show when you're parked, but it's a really great sensation because your hands never have to leave these controls. So down through the center of this crankset here, there's a shaft that runs down in a gear set right here, and a gear set on the front that allows you to have shaft driven pedal power so that when you're steering, you can still be pedaling without any derailing of the chain. As you can imagine, with a lot of systems where there would be a gear mounted up here and a chain mounted at the bottom, if you did that on a system like this, as soon as you turn, it would twist the chain and it would derail the chain. But with this system, that is not the case, and it allows it to be controlled, to be steered, and pedaled and braked and throttled and shifted all at the same time. So really fantastic system. Howdy, how are you? Good, thanks. Good. Alright, so when it comes time to charge, it's super easy to do with this machine. Charger's built in, so you don't have any separate cable or any separate chargers you got to carry around or anything like that. It's all protected inside of the machine and waterproof. So when you're ready to charge, you just pull this cap off. It's just a push-on cap. Just pull that straight off. Then you're going to do the same thing on the other side over here. This is the exhaust side, so it can blow the hot air out of that side while it's charging. And then you're going to have your end that's going to go into the machine. Pretty common style cord. You can get it at a hardware store if you lose it. Press that in, and then your charger at the other end of the cable. Pretty normal setup there, nothing special. And you're just going to go ahead and plug in. And you'll hear the fans kick up when you plug in. That you're charging. It charges up really quickly. It's a 1,000-watt charging system. Typical electric bike chargers are usually around 400 or 500 watts. This one charges 2 to 3 times as fast. This one actually on this machine peaks out at 1,200 watts. So when you're out on the road riding and you stop somewhere to get a charge, you can get about a mile of range back for every 2 minutes of charging. So while you're eating a lunch or whatever it might be, you get a big chunk of your range back as you stop and just take a little break. And you can see actually up here on this display, it shows you what your power is right now, that negative 1.1 kilowatts, which is about 1,100 or 1,000 watts there, going back into the battery. And so you can actually see the voltage climbing as it's charging back up. All right, so one of the common questions that we get is how long does it take to charge the machine? Really good question. So our batteries are on average 1 kilowatt hour batteries. They actually have a little bit more than that. So the math is pretty straightforward. If you have a 1,000-watt charger and you have a 1,000 watt-hour battery or 1 kilowatt hour, it's going to be about 1 hour to charge each one of those packs. You can fit up to 4 of those packs on this machine, which is just a massive battery pack. So with 4 packs, it'd be 4 hours, 3 packs, 3 hours, 2 and 2, and 1 and 1, obviously. But the one detail with that that's important to keep in mind is most of the time you're not going to be charging an empty pack, so it's going to take even less time than that. That's in the worst case. With a single pack, it would take 1 hour max to charge back up. All right, so that's the Horizon Handcycle. Tons to know about this machine. There's so much packed into it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please you can leave them in the comments below, or please just send us an email at info@outriderusa.com. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have and get a build going for you if this is the kind of machine that you're looking for. All right, take care. Hope you have a great day.